For many artists, the sky was poetry in motion. It was the poetry of nature, and it presented infinite number of opportunities as a subject. The sky, as we know, changes daily, hourly, by minute, so that throughout the show we see painters trying to engage with mists, oily black moonlight scene, a sunset, bolt of lightning, but probably most of all they're very interested in the sort of cloudscape and clouds scudding across the sky. And it really invites the question, well, how do you capture something so fast moving? Painting quickly might be one answer, but it's also important to try and in a way adapt a method of doing it. And one very important figure in the exhibition, a French artist called Pierre-Henri de Valenciennes, who wrote a really significant book called Elements of Practical Perspective in around 1800, recommended that artists, when they were painting outdoors and when they were painting the sky, painted for no longer than 2 hours at a stretch. So you get a real sense in this section particularly of nature and movement, of the changeability of weather and of the cloudscape, the skies above. One of the artists, of course, who was most fascinated by the sky was John Constable. He had a term for it. He called it skying. And the sky, famously, he called the chief organ of sentiment. So while he's very interested in the cloud formations and kept a weather diary, the clouds are more than that. They're a way of making his compositions dynamic and also of introducing an element of expressiveness into his paintings. Some of them he dated, some of them he annotated what sort of weather effect there was in order to be able to capture them. They were private affairs. They were kept by the artist to inform their paintings. They captured a moment from nature and took it back to the studio. So Constable was very familiar with the landscape he was painting in Britain, even if the skies were changing the whole time. But other artists also had to engage with the different forms of skies and cloudscapes that they saw in their travels. One very good example, who's a great discovery of this show, is an artist called Johann Jakob Frey, a Swiss artist who, like so many in this exhibition, moved to Italy and stayed there, based mainly in Naples. But at the beginning of the 1840s, he travels to Egypt and North Africa with an Egyptologist friend. We don't know where the 4 skyscapes in the show, all beautiful, all very different, all tell us that he's fascinated by what he sees and the different sort of colours and forms, but we don't know where they were painted. It's possible even that they were painted in North Africa. Some visitors already who've seen the skyscape behind me have said that it reminds them of the plains of the Serengeti. These paintings, these skyscapes, speak to us all very differently and evoke different memories. Some artists, though, thought that open-air painters trying to record the fast-moving sky were basically on a hiding to nothing. And Edgar Degas, the Impressionist, was one of them. He believed very much that art was artificial, and that was your medium, and that's what you had to engage with, and that landscapes were something conceived in the mind as much as in front of the motif. And for that reason, he thought that the efforts of any outdoor painter to record the fleeting aspects of nature were really in vain. He believed that the air we see in paintings is not the air we breathe.